Hey folks, I'm Rima. My pronouns are she and her. I'll do a quick description of who I am for those of you that are listening along. I am a middle-aged Black lady with shoulder-length wild brown natural hair. I'm wearing glasses that are tortoise shell, and I'm dressed in all black as I typically am. And I'm sitting in my office and I've got some inspirational artwork behind me, and very happy to be with you all this evening. And want to thank Ames Pride and the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Ames for making tonight happen. As Tanvi indicated, this has been a work in progress for a long time. The format has shifted exponentially thanks to the global pandemic. So glad to be able to bring this conversation to Zoom, because it means that a heck of a lot more people are able to participate. And it's a conversation that is very timely. The title in the Facebook invitation is something like Intersectional Activism with Rima McCoy McDede. I have given this presentation a new title, Woke White Activists in Recovery, because the only way that activism can be intersectional is if our white activist friends do some inner work. And that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. So without further ado, before I even do the precursor to the beginning, just want to remind everybody, use the chat function for chit chat type stuff. Compliments to me, tell me how pretty I am. And then use the Q&A function for like the real questions. That will help us all, Ames Pride and myself, to field the questions and ensure that your questions are answered tonight. So without further ado, why are we here today? So, oh, sorry. 40-year-old lady at the helm. So why are we here today? So this is all about talking about acknowledging and recovering, or considering thinking about recovering from a dependence upon liberal white supremacy. Because I encounter tons and tons and tons of people who are white, who engage in activism as a manifestation, subconscious manifestation of liberal white supremacy. And it creates a lot of barriers to the objectives that activists tend to purport actually coming into fruition. And so this is all about removing those roadblocks, so to speak, and removing the barrier between white activists and the inconvenient truths that tend to surround the activism that you do. Ultimately, we're talking about racism all night long tonight, and the racism within so-called progressive spaces. No more pointing to the right and saying, they're the racists. No, no, no. Wherever there are white people, there is racism, and racism is a nonpartisan phenomenon. So we're going to face it tonight in a proactive manner so that the real work of social justice can be done. So we're going to be talking about activism very metaphorically tonight, and then also literally, obviously, but we're going to use the metaphor of nonprofit spaces throughout the conversation this evening, because white people who are into activism tend to work in nonprofit sector. And the nonprofit sector is also plagued by white supremacy. In fact, I like to call the nonprofit sector kind of a consort of white feminism. And white feminism is the beloved to white patriarchy. And so the nonprofit sector works very closely within the realm of white supremacy. And it's very subtle, so subtle that a lot of you don't realize how white supremacy operates in the nonprofit sector and in social justice spaces. And so we're going to be shining a great big beaming light on that tonight. It's going to be great. It's going to be kind of uncomfortable. This is a safe space. Safe and comfortable are not necessarily the same thing, especially when we're talking about the subject matter that we're going to be talking about tonight. And one thing that I've learned in my 40 plus years on this planet is that some of the people that are the most resistant to having real conversations about racism are white, progressive, woke people. Because the cognitive dissonance between the self-perception of being a change agent and the stunning reality that you are actually also perpetuating white supremacy simultaneously can be a very bitter pill to swallow. So this will be a somewhat uncomfortable conversation for many of you tonight, and that's okay. It's not necessarily a sign that I'm wrong. It could be a sign that you're being pointed in the right direction. So, who am I? My name is Rima McCoy McDeed, and I am the Executive Director of Central Iowa Center for Independent Living, or CICIL, here in Des Moines. Please note, the views expressed during this presentation are my own. Please do not try to get me in trouble, file a grievance against me, and say that Rima was speaking on behalf of Independent Living or CICIL or whatever, and said some things that were very accurate and hurtful about white people, and I want to get her into trouble. This is something that happens to me on a shockingly regular basis, but that is the reason why I offer that disclaimer. The views expressed tonight are my own. I facilitate trainings on implicit bias, privilege, disability, diversity, intersectionality, racism, et cetera, all over the place, from sea to shining sea. I am the co-chair of the National Council on Independent Living's Anti-Racism and Equity Task Force. Last year, AT&T, for some God knows reason, awarded me their Humanity of Connection Award with regard to the work that I do pertaining to race and equity in disability spaces. I am also the first openly autistic person to run for state legislature in US history. I did not win, but that's a big reason, that run for office is a big reason why until Memorial Day of this year, I was one of the most hated women in Iowa politics in the minds and hearts of Iowa's white liberals. And now Iowa's white liberals are asking me to do these trainings. It's just wild to me. Anyhow, before we get into the nitty-gritty for tonight, and please note, there will be time for questions at the end, but I, up until then, will be sharing lots and lots and lots of valuable information with you. Before we get into that, I want to make sure that we're all on the same page with regards to some key terms. I know that many of you who are with us tonight have read all the books, White Fragility, et cetera, you know all these terms, and so this might feel remedial to you. Do want to make sure that we're all on the same page with regards to the language that we're using tonight so that there's no misunderstanding. So, implicit bias, it's all about attitudes, stereotypes that affect our understanding, our actions, and our decisions in an unconscious manner. For the purposes of tonight's conversation, we are speaking about implicit bias from the vantage point of race. Everybody experiences implicit bias. We are talking about implicit bias from the vantage point of race. So don't throw a question in the QA about, well, Black people experience implicit bias too when it comes to gender identity or sexual orientation or whatever. Yes, thank you. We know that. That's not what we're talking about tonight. So when we're talking about implicit bias, I think it's very important to talk about what it is not. So being a member of the KKK is not implicit bias. Getting a swastika tattoo, hanging a Confederate flag like my lovely neighbor across the street from me, using the N-word, killing a person because they're Black. These are not examples of implicit bias. These are overt manifestations of racism, very obviously. Lots of premeditation here, lots of conscious, awful action here. This is implicit bias. Assuming that a Black person who visits your Unitarian Universalist church is unfamiliar with UU and or in need of your help, quote unquote, for whatever reason. That's implicit bias. Acting extra excited when a Black person attends your event. Lots to unpack there. That is a manifestation of implicit bias. Experiencing anxiety when a Black acquaintance is not smiling is an example of implicit bias. Determining that natural, kinky, coily hair is there for you to touch. Implicit bias, don't do that. Simplifying your language when speaking with Black people is an example of implicit bias. Google this. This is a pervasive issue in progressive spaces, deeply offensive, rooted in implicit bias. Assuming that Black people are ignorant about politics, totally a manifestation of implicit bias. And let me be clear, there is a spectrum, there is a continuum of racism. We focus a lot on the one end where the overt racism is. We need to speak more about the other end of the continuum where implicit bias rests. Everything that I have mentioned here is an example of covert racism. Being culturally incompetent is a manifestation of racism. It is a manifestation of covert racism. It is time for white people to understand that your definitions of racism have been very incomplete for far too long. And typically, racism has been defined by white people in a way that ensures that it implicates everybody except them. So racism over here, we're totally not racist. We would vote for Obama for a third term if we could. That's how not racist we are. Wherever there are white people, there is racism, there is implicit bias, and it is harmful for racially marginalized people to deal with, especially in spaces that are supposedly safe for us, activist spaces, progressive spaces, liberal spaces, whatever. So, but I want to kind of maybe round out what's articulated in books like White Fragility about implicit bias, or things like White Fragility themselves. Implicit bias is rooted in our unconsciousness. Implicit bias is what happens when our brain is on autopilot. So experiencing implicit bias does not mean that you're a bad person, that you're a bad activist, game over, you're a lost cause, whatever. It does not necessarily mean there's something wrong with you. It presents you with an opportunity to do better. And so hopefully this conversation that we're having tonight will begin to offer alternative ways of looking at yourself if you experience things like implicit bias or white fragility or that kind of thing. But thanks to implicit bias, the default setting for liberals, progressives, activists is white, middle class, covertly racist. Let me be clear. I don't often speak for all Black people. I have no right to speak for all Black people. I am the color of a Nilla wafer. That would be highly inappropriate. Nevertheless, I am here to tell you that a great majority of us Black folks experience a lot of trepidation when we encounter activist spaces or liberal spaces or progressive spaces or whatever, because they are steeped in covert racism. Covert racism is very exhausting to deal with. I personally would rather deal with the overt stuff because at least I know where I stand. There's none of this bobbing and weaving stuff that you tend to see with covert racism. But thanks to implicit bias, the default setting for these types of spaces is covertly racist. Very important to keep in mind, because we're going to be talking about how to root that out so that intersectional activism can flourish in the spaces where you engage in activism. So if you are feeling any of the following right now, anxiety, frustration, defensiveness, guilt, put on the spot, irritation, the desire to tune out perhaps and watch something on Netflix because this is just not your cup of tea. If you're feeling any of those things, that is what is known as white fragility, which is discomfort and defensiveness on the part of white people when confronted about information about racial inequity, inequality, and injustice. White fragility is something that is especially prominently featured in activist, progressive, liberal spaces, because again, the cognitive dissonance that comes from one perceiving oneself as being a change agent, being one of the good people, and coming to terms with the fact that there is also racism within you, can be very, very difficult to process. And so white fragility tends to manifest as a result of that. And we're going to talk about what that looks like throughout this evening. I would offer the following to you all. We've been talking about white fragility a hell of a lot past year, especially since Memorial Day of this year. And let me be clear, Memorial Day is the day that George Floyd was murdered. And so there's been a almost sea change in our society since then with regards to these conversations. And activist spaces have gone from being incredibly reticent to engage in these conversations to practically desperate. My phone is literally ringing off the hook and has been since Memorial Day. Because people who have not wanted to have these conversations are now wanting to have them and have them as soon as possible. Anyhow, as we've been having conversations about white fragility, we've been talking about white fragility as if white fragility is a boogeyman. And if one is in the throes of white fragility, they are a lost cause. I would like to offer, because I, deep down, am a somewhat diplomatic person, what if white fragility is a logical response to the shock of being made aware that you aren't fully cognizant that you are participating in something that's harmful to entire populations of people, racially marginalized people, for the purposes of tonight's conversation. You have spent a lot of time working to differentiate yourself from them racists over there. And in doing that, you fail to recognize the racism over here and inside of you. And so when conversations like this reach their way to your doorstep, white fragility might manifest. Doesn't necessarily mean that you need to react and do something that's going to cause you to become Facebook famous because it gets caught on film. No. There are options. You have options. And that is what we're talking about tonight. Because being a good white activist is about choosing the better options. White privilege, another hot topic of conversation as of late. So inherent advantages possessed by a white person on the basis of their race in society characterized by racial inequity, inequality, and injustice. So what does this look like in liberal, progressive, and activist spaces? So you're white. The decision makers for your organization or initiative have the same skin color as you. Your organization, your initiative was incorporated by people that have the same skin color as you. The most notable people in your sector, your movement, have the same skin color as you. Your organization, your initiative, your movement forgot to be inclusive of racially marginalized people when it was forming, and as a result has to do outreach, quote unquote outreach, after the fact, and struggles to do so at that. So you call up somebody like me and you say, we can't seem to attract racially marginalized people to our movement. What's up with that? People with the same skin color as me decide at the organization what difficult conversations will be breached and how they will be breached. People with the same skin color as you have the final say regarding harassment investigations at your organization. If you're white, more than likely, that all is applicable to you. If you're one of the rest of us, not so much. That is what white privilege looks like in activist spaces. This is a reason why white is the default setting for these types of spaces and why they're rooted in white supremacy. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, I can't have privilege if I have a disability or I'm a woman or I grew up poor or I'm old or whatever. And that's not true. That is a willful misunderstanding of what white privilege is. Systemically speaking, a Black person who has the same disability as you experiences all the challenges that you experience as a result of that disability. And we also experience challenges that being Black in the US present and you do not, and that is a privilege. Black women experience gender-based oppression and racism. You, white ladies, do not. The life expectancy of Black folks in the US is less than that of white people, and so being old in and of itself is a privilege. And your life can be hard if you are white, but it cannot be hard because you are white, period. Okay, what is diversity? Diversity is differences in racial, ethnic, socioeconomic, geographic, blah, 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 backgrounds. People with different opinions, different proclivities, whatever, different experiences. Diversity is dead, by the way. Anyhow, I'll get back to that in a minute. What is intersectionality? It's about the interconnected nature of social categorizations. It's about recognizing the silos, tearing down the silos, and exploring the interconnected nature of marginalization across the spectrum of marginalization, and identifying and creating and nurturing overlapping and interdependent systems of discrimination or disadvantage, and then people who experience that discrimination or disadvantage coming together to fight against it and root it out. So one could be, this is why diversity is dead, folks. Stop saying diversity. One can be attained without addressing systemic oppression, and one cannot. Diversity is all about, let's get like some Black people onto this bus or into this organization or whatever, and not doing anything to remedy the bus or the organization with regards to issues that have created barriers to Black folks or other racially marginalized folks joining in the first place. And so what diversity does is it brings racially marginalized people into a situation that wasn't built for us in the first place. That's not safe. That's the reason why racially marginalized people will come in and flee. And we will tell our friends, and that will be a big reason why you are struggling to do outreach or be diverse or whatever, because we have sounded the alarm. That is not a safe place for racially marginalized people. Intersectionality is all about addressing the systemic barriers to inclusion. And so tonight is your invitation to shift your thinking from diversity to intersectionality, especially with regards to activism. And so, without further ado, let us begin, because we have a long ways to go tonight. But let's just hit the ground running, right? So, white liberal activists, which social justice warrior are you? Now, I've got a lot going on the screen for those of you who are listening along. We've got a picture of Shaun King at the top. We're going to talk about him in a moment. We've got Jane Elliott, Iowa's finest. We've got Robin DiAngelo, author of White Fragility. And then we also have some screenshots. from my my public social media page that indicate that show some examples of when white activists pay me a visit and call me divisive or whatever. We've got one of my all-time favorite screenshots here from a very well-known and well-connected activist here in Des Moines, who sounded the alarm, told folks that she was being slandered by an activist, me, who has misrepresented her for 2 years. And she's asking all of her white activist friends to ignore me and show up for Black Lives. Good God. We've got another lady here who's got a Black Lives Matter profile picture, who's telling me that I'm divisive and I need to focus on the real enemy of Black Lives Matter. And then we've got, this one has nothing to do with me, but we've got an example of a white liberal activist off of Twitter named Dr. Shannon Freistack, and her hashtag is Black Lives Matter. And she's browbeating a Black woman who asked, what can childless people with extra time on their hands during the day and who are looking to help do this fall to help parents who are choosing to send their kids to school? Dr. Shannon, Black Lives Matter lady, made a lot of assumptions rooted in implicit bias and assumed that the woman who asked this question, who is a Black woman, was hitting up Twitter for free childcare. And she says, childless people don't owe you or anyone our extra time. You chose to have children. Godspeed, breeder. Whew. So, which social justice warrior are you? So we're going to dive into looking at social justice warriors from the metaphor of the nonprofit sector, because so many of you work in the nonprofit sector. So we've got some archetypes here. We've got, I think, 6 of them. The first up, comatose Karen. All the decision makers at Karen's organization are white. Anybody that's racially marginalized in a stakeholder capacity, totally tokenized at Comatose Karen's organization. Anytime they speak, it's through talking points that have been determined by Karen. Diversity is discussed with vague rhetoric, focus on love and light, blah, blah, blah. Karen makes the final decisions regarding how difficult conversations are breached, and tends to punish racially marginalized people who have the audacity to speak up about issues that pertain to race. Racially marginalized stakeholders avoid Karen at all costs, but smile when Karen is around, and Karen thinks that they all think that she's just fantastic. She refers to them as her friends. They do not refer to her as their friends. No statement of solidarity issued after George Floyd's murder because Karen either thinks that her work, her body of work, speaks for itself, or she thinks that issuing such a statement might be considered divisive to donors. Next up, Sleepy Susan. Glaring lack of racially marginalized presence at Susan's organization, but at least Susan and the other decision makers are somewhat aware of this in a kind of vague, abstract way, perhaps. There's a willingness to participate in diversity and inclusion training as long as it's free. Racially marginalized staff experience tons of microaggressions from Susan on a regular basis. And are seen as problematic if they have the audacity to bring that stuff up. Typically, if there are racially marginalized people in a decision-making or leadership capacity at this type of organization, they have been selected for their roles because they're known to not question the status quo. They are assimilated. We'll talk about assimilated, racially marginalized people here in a few moments. Statement of solidarity is vague, doesn't specifically acknowledge the support of Black people. Just sort of, we respect everybody. All lives matter, blah, blah, blah. Hit the snooze, Holly. So Holly's organization is primarily white, but perhaps it's an organization that works primarily with racially marginalized people. This could be like a human service agency or that kind of thing. Holly's social media is primarily comprised of a ton, like just a bracing amount of social justice content. But that content actually contrasts with her treatment of racially marginalized staff. Speaking of racially marginalized staff, they're totally aware that Holly is performing her politics and her activism and her wokeness and that kind of stuff. Holly might even live in a gentrified neighborhood, and acknowledges the importance of implicit bias training, but struggles to actually budget for it, and expects that somebody like me will come in and do the training and just be grateful for the opportunity. Solidarity statement explicitly invokes Black Lives Matter, yay, and was written by Holly, but she asked Black staff for assistance in editing it after the fact. Holly might be chair of something like her local Civil Rights Commission, but has a history of undermining Black peers who seek elected office and other civic leadership positions. I am here to tell you that activist spaces are full of people like Holly. Roused Rebecca. Rebecca is able to correlate a lack of representation at the stakeholder level with the struggle to connect with racially marginalized consumers, clients, stakeholders, whatever. Strategic plan reflects an honest account of the organization's disparities with regards to racial marginalization and inclusion. And there's an acknowledgement for the need for professional expertise as it pertains to addressing systemic issues that create barriers to inclusion for racially marginalized people. And there might even be a willingness to invest financially in such a kind of training and support. Rebecca has read White Fragility and is a member of SURGE, and could even be active at her local UU or Episcopalian church or whatever. Rebecca doesn't have any Black friends though. Rebecca's solidarity statement is confessional in nature and offers steps her organization will take in order to create an inclusive environment for racially marginalized stakeholders. Rebecca definitely has a Black Lives Matter sign in her front yard. Aware Alice. Aware Alice is a very rare breed, folks. If you're reading on about Aware Alice and you're thinking, that's me, probably not, and that's okay. Alice leads her organization with the freedom to speak candidly about systemic barriers to creating not only an intersectional and inclusive workspace, but an intersectional and inclusive progressive movement. Alice sees passing the mic from herself to racially marginalized people as an integral tool in her toolbox. She might even willingly step aside and make space for qualified racially marginalized people to assume their role. Solidarity statement was determined to be redundant by racially marginalized stakeholders because the organization has a long-standing reputation for engaging with the community in a manner that exemplifies walking the talk. Again, rare breed, something to work towards, indeed. So, let's kill a few darlings, because killing a few darlings is absolutely integral to being an effective activist if you are somebody who wants to be an activist, but also has a lot of white privilege. First up, Jane Elliott, patron saint of white activists everywhere. Her Blue Eyes, Brown Eyes experiment, done way back in 1968, was a game changer indeed. And I'm not speaking about Jane Elliott and saying let's throw the baby out with the bathwater by any stretch of the imagination, but Jane Elliott has not passed the mic to Black folks a single time since 1968. That's problematic. Additionally, A quick Google search of Jane Elliott will show you that she has a history of transphobic, sexist, and ableist rhetoric. Black folks who know better would like for Jane to do better, ultimately. And yes, I'm sure you have white friends who share Jane Elliott stuff on Facebook or Twitter or whatever. That's fine. Black folks who know better would like for Jane to do better. Robin DiAngelo, author of White Fragility, the best-selling book on racism in the history of the world. But there's nothing groundbreaking about this book. This book has been written time and time again by Black folks for decades now. There's a lot of unpacking to do around the fact that it took a white woman writing a book that has basically been written by Black folks time and time again for it to become wildly successful. And the fact of the matter is that white people operate on a playing field and emit a frequency that is available only to white people. And so those of us who are racially marginalized, who've been shouting into the wilderness about white fragility and whatnot, you haven't heard it because we don't have access to the frequency that white people have. And so this is a reason why this book is the best-selling book on racism in the history of the world. I would argue, and it might piss a few of you off, that DiAngelo is not using her privilege and her platform to amplify the voices of Black people who've been doing anti-racism work. She's also gotten extremely rich in the process. She has prioritized to speak on race over Black people. I know it because it has happened to me. We have been invited to speak at the same things, and she is invited to speak about race, and I am invited to speak about other stuff. I originally was invited to speak at a thing about race, as was DiAngelo. I am now speaking about disability. DiAngelo is speaking about race. It is what it is. It's a sign that the spaces, activist spaces, progressive spaces have a lot of work to do. Shaun King, this one's gonna get me into a lot of trouble. Shaun King pilfers ideas and labor from Black women and uses his platform to destroy them when they attempt to hold him accountable. Google, Google, Google. Very easy to find this stuff out there. He has a history of raising money for initiatives that never come to fruition. What happens to the money? Oh my gosh. He peddles trauma porn to a largely white audience, not appreciated. Is possibly blackfishing. If you don't know what blackfishing is, Google it and Google Shaun King. We have had an influx of people who have come forward and confessed that they have been blackfishing. Rachel Dolezal kind of opened the floodgates to that a few years ago, but we've had several folks who have either been outed or have come forward very recently as a few days ago, last week. There's considerable evidence that Shaun King is a blackfisher. Is he? I don't know. But even if he's not, he engages in a lot of behaviors that are harmful for racially marginalized people. He is a darling that we are talking about killing, not literally, figuratively. Stop following men and white people and assimilated Black folks. Folks, if you're wanting to be a good white activist, please stop doing that and start following unassimilated, unambiguous Black women. I do not include myself in that category. I am somewhat ambiguous. Again, the color of a banana. I have hair that is a texture that is not kinky. Follow Black women who look like Black women, who have two Black parents, who are unassimilated, who say the inconvenient truths, the quiet things out loud and get in a lot of trouble for it. They are brave. They are the backbone of this work, and they need to be respected for the work that they do. Please follow them. Please stop following men and white people and assimilated Black folks, and even Black folks that look like me. Start following unassimilated, unambiguous Black women. And I put women with an X instead of an E. And now it's time for me to kill my favorite darling of them all. If you follow me on Facebook, what I'm about to dive into is not going to be a surprise to you. When I was running for office, I got into so much trouble for talking about this particular subject. Gentrification. Gentrification has two definitions. We often talk about gentrification from the vantage point of architecture. It's a process of renovating and improving a house or a district so that it conforms to middle class, i.e. white people's tastes. Also the process of making a person or an activity more refined or polite. So, white people, when you think about gentrification, you think about historic preservation, you think about neighborhood improvement, all these wonderful euphemisms. And so here, if you're listening along, we've got a picture of a building that looks blighted. And then on the right, we have a picture of a building that has been renovated and has a beautiful paint, a new roof, and all that lovely stuff on it. This is oftentimes what white people think about when they think about gentrification. And the fact of the matter is a lot of white people who identify as activists are active gentrifiers. You might not like the word, but they engage in the deeds, so they are gentrifiers. This is what we Black folks think when we think gentrification. Again, for those of you who are listening along, we've got 3 pictures, including Black folks holding signs that say things like gentrification is racism, which is true. Gentrification is ethnic cleansing, definitely. United Nations says ethnic cleansing is a crime. It definitely is. We've got some graffiti on a wall. Gentrification, please bear with us while we tear apart your community. I saw a tweet recently, something along the lines of gentrification is all about getting rid of Black people in an area and replacing them with Black Lives Matter signs. Real quick, how we went from white flight to gentrification. This is a synopsis, very relevant to white activists. So, white activists, your grandparents and your parents, post-World War, once Black folks, thanks to things like the GI Grant, et cetera, started moving into quote unquote white neighborhoods, white folks fled to the suburbs, which is known as white flight. Leaving behind gutted urban areas and psychically displaced Black folks in their wake. Black folks, as we tend to do, made the best out of a very shitty situation for generations after generations. And then in the early 21st century, white people came back, the descendants of the white flight people came back, many who identify as liberals or progressive or woke or activists, etc., and moved into these areas and became fixated with the notion of historic preservation and that kind of thing, and moved into the areas that your grandparents and your parents abandoned, eager for cheap real estate, and a desire to create a little mini New York City for yourself in Des Moines, Phoenix, and Kansas City, whatever, and turn blighted buildings into lofts and coffee shops, yoga studios, and Lululemon showrooms, that kind of thing. Black folks became displaced again, psychically this time, and in the name of historic preservation. Gentrification is kind of the unspoken shame of white activists everywhere. But let's shift from focusing on buildings and focus on people, because there's more to gentrification than simply rehabbing buildings. There's that second part of the definition, process of making a person or an activity more refined or polite. Who gets to decide what is more refined or polite? Probably white people. Who decided that the after photo here was more refined, polite? For those of you listening along, we have an indigenous man wearing traditional garments and jewelry and hair. And then on the right, his hair has been cut. He's been put into a westernized suit and is not wearing any jewelry whatsoever. He has been gentrified. Who decided that the after here is more polite and refined? Lots of activists love yoga. I love yoga. I'm a certified yoga instructor. Yoga has been gentrified in this country, largely by people who identify as progressive and woke and that kind of thing. And with the gentrification, the purpose of yoga has shifted, has mutated significantly in this country. And it's shifted from an activity that creates unity for a person with something that's larger than them, to being an activity that a person engages in for individualistic, personal best reasons. Rock hard abs, etc. Trendy stuff. I've got a quotation here. It's become a strategic practice designed to enhance one's own esteem and future value. It has become an innocent bystander of late capitalism. So, how gentrification in all of its manifestations makes you a shit activist. For those of you who are like, why is she talking about gentrification? I thought she was going to talk about how to be a good activist. I am talking about how to be a good activist. Gentrification places you perpetually on the defensive. I know, because I have had so many activists who are gentrifiers here in central Iowa come after me hardcore because they're angry at my rhetoric around gentrification. They are on the defensive. Hit dogs holler. It exacerbates feelings of guilt, insecurity, and self-hatred. It draws upon your lesser qualities, fear and greed in particular. Fear and greed are strange bedfellows if you also purport to be an activist or woke. It keeps you trapped in the cult of security and convenience. And when you are trapped in the cult of security and convenience, it is always at the expense of racially marginalized people. It separates you from unity, kumbaya, and it renders you divisive. But can't gentrification lead to good outcomes sometimes? No. What you perceive as being a good outcome of gentrification is either gross rationalization on your part, which is a delusion, or those who are harmed by gentrification, Black and brown folks, making the best of the situation out of sheer necessity. So, activists, if you really want to improve the quote-unquote inner city, commit to reparations, not gentrification. And if the idea of cash reparations leaves a bad taste in your mouth, then you've got some work to do, some inner work on implicit bias you have around Black people and money, particularly money that is being quote-unquote handed to us. Here's a quote from Ta-Nehisi Coates. Until we reckon with the compounding moral debt of our ancestors, America will never be whole. You will never be whole, and your activism will be toxic because it is an extension of white supremacy. So, speaking of white supremacy, when your words do not align with your deeds, that is called white supremacy. That is not activism. So, let's kill the last darling, at least the last darling for tonight. Your self-appointed title, activist or ally. Pro tip, most Black people hate the term ally. When we come across a white person that refers to themselves as an ally, it puts us on guard, makes us hyper aware of the fact that this is probably somebody that's going to shove some covert racism in our general direction. So, speaking of being divisive, let's talk about projecting a little bit, because I notice because I spend a lot of time with white people who purport to be activists, a lot of projection happens. Are you the angry Black woman after all? So, projection refers to unconsciously taking unwanted emotions or traits that you do not like about yourself and attributing them to somebody else. This happens a lot in activist spaces because people who have a lot of privilege and identify as activists tend to be very rigid with regards to what their definition of an activist is. So rigid that it excludes parts of themselves personally. And you got to do something with that stuff, right? So why white activists project? Cultural conditioning specific to conflict avoidance, particularly amongst white women. Not nice to engage in conflict. So we've got to do something with it. So let's shift it and project it onto somebody else, especially Black women. Pathological perception that racism is over there. Racism is something that I have to deal with when I have Thanksgiving dinner with my right-wing family, says the left-wing white person, forgetting that they too are a racist. Allegiance to white supremacy requires self-regulation in order to maintain compliance with the status quo. Many activist spaces are in love with the status quo and just don't realize it. Implicit bias, white fragility, passive aggression. I dislike them, so I will load them up with my own unfavorable attributes, and everyone will believe me over them anyhow. So back when everybody hated me, I had some of Central Iowa's finest, including elected officials, white ladies, who did a fantastic job of making it known that I was an angry Black woman, bitter, full of rage, not to be trusted, not to be liked. And time has shown that they're the angry ones, not me. Not that there's anything wrong with being an angry Black woman. Black women have a lot to be angry about in this country, especially unambiguously Black women. Lots of folks owe unambiguously Black women a big ass apology. Anyhow, that'll be my next talk. So let's talk about white feminism. So white feminism exists to promote the comfort and the safety of middle-class and affluent white women, many who purport to be activists. At its core, it's a racist ideology that claims to speak for all women while ignoring the needs of Black, Indigenous, and other women of color, BIWOC, and suppressing our voices when our agendas and priorities don't align with the default setting. It recognizes the voice of racially marginalized women only to further its own aims and appear inclusive. It's just not your time to run for office, Black woman, but support us, white women, to run for office. And we'll do our best once we're elected to make sure that the playing field allows for you to run for office too. Nah. So the nonprofit / helping sector, in summary, coming back to that, many, if not all, of the social services, education, and other unmet needs that nonprofit work tirelessly works to address exist largely, and this is a very inconvenient truth, folks, so tune in, exists because of the lasting ramifications of colonization, slavery, segregation, redlining, mass incarceration, many other manifestations of white supremacy. Without this explicit acknowledgement, our work can unintentionally uplift white supremacist ideology and do more harm to the very communities we hope to serve. How many of you who are white, who identify as activists, are doing work that places a Band-Aid on white supremacy and calling that activism? That's why I add this very illuminating quotation here. So what you hear me saying is that white patriarchy harms Black people and forces us to seek out support from the nonprofit sector, from activist spaces, which harms us even further with white feminism, because white feminism is the beloved of white patriarchy. Whew. So, before I dive into this next part, I want to be mindful of our time. We have a half an hour together. I'm going to stop screen sharing and have a look at well, I was going to have a look at the questions, but we only had one question. I'm going to look at the chat real quick just to see if anybody has. Lots of great comments, folks. All right. So, many of you are probably wondering, well, geez, Rima, that was really heavy stuff. You've outlined the problem. What's the solution? So, how to not be the helping hand that strikes again. So 10 years ago, just a side note, I was in training to be a Zen Buddhist monk, believe it or not. I lived in a Zen Buddhist monastery and everything in Northern California. And my Zen master schooled me on a variety of things, but one thing that we talked about a lot was helping hand strikes again. And we go into situations with the intent to help, and we end up screwing things up. And so what we've been talking about a lot tonight is white people doing activism or thinking that you're doing activism and kind of screwing things up. And so let's talk about how to not screw things up. And I've organized these into 12 easy steps. And I picked 12 steps very intentionally. So, and those, some of you who are like myself, friends of Bill, are going to be very tuned into these 12 steps. But anyhow, step one, you've got to admit that there's a problem. And this is the biggest step of all. You know, Lao Tzu says that the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Simple, but not necessarily easy, especially if you're somebody that gives a lot of, that has a lot of energy around perceiving yourself as being woke or progressive or whatever. It's going to be extra hard for you to admit that you have a problem. Side note, Google liberal racism and see what comes up. What you'll find is that liberals, progressive people, that kind of population has a hardest time identifying the racism within themselves, because there's so many layers of being helpful and being the change and all that stuff, covering up the unvarnished truth that underneath all that stuff is a lot of racism. So admitting the problem is the first step. So we're going back into using the nonprofit organization or initiative as a metaphor. So if you're an activist and you're in an activist space and you're wondering, why is this space not inclusive? Well, there's a problem and you need to admit it. Your organization, your initiative is not inclusive. The left isn't either, because you, Y-O-U, are not, and as a result, you have hit a wall. And your organizations and your initiatives are a conglomeration of a bunch of U's, Y-O-U, because white people are the default setting. And that lack of inclusivity that you see out large in your organizations and your initiatives is a manifestation of the lack of inclusivity in yourself. Not blaming you, I'm just saying. You are a microcosm of the macro. Step two, acknowledge that you need help. People like me created liberal spaces as we know them and run the majority of them. We didn't consider the fact that doing so without the guidance of racially marginalized peers would bring us to where we are now. And so it is. And so you've got an inclusion problem and you don't know how to address it. You need help, period. Step 3, secure a professional consultant or trainer. And for those of you that are listening along, I'm reading these slides, and these slides are quotations of people sort of going through the steps. So we are committed to budgeting for this necessary expense and bringing in professional expertise to assist us in addressing the shortcomings our liberal culture, our activist culture is currently suffering from. Step 4, honestly participate in the training. So get beyond the cognitive dissonance that you might have about yourself, being this social justice warrior, and just come to terms with the fact that you've got some work to do. Again, quotation, we've done diversity and inclusion training in the past, but admittedly, we sought out a trainer that wouldn't rock the boat, so to speak, and ultimately we left the training feeling like we could check a box, but without knowing why. This time we are committed to engaging in a training that forces us to look at the things we've avoided for so long, so that 30 years from now, the people that are at the helm of this initiative or this organization are not having to do the work that we should have done now, basically. The fact of the matter is that if activist spaces, if progressive spaces don't do this work now, we have reached a point, and if you're not cognizant of this, you have been living under a rock. 3 rocks, rocks on top of rocks. If this work doesn't get done now, there might not be liberal activist spaces tomorrow, folks. We're living in very weird, fucked up times. And so this work has to be done. Can't kick the can down the road anymore. We are in crisis. White people, you gotta do this stuff now. Step 5, acknowledge your wrongs to a trainer. You're practicing. Our trainer was hired to support us all in doing this work. We will use this opportunity to practice identifying specifics concerning how systemic oppression works in our organizations, works in our movements, our initiatives, whatever, works in ourselves internally, and use the safe environment our trainer provides to articulate them out loud. Step 6, the most important one, believe Black people. White Fragility is a great book. Commit to seeking out wisdom from unambiguously Black folks, women in particular. Dr. Kimberly Crenshaw, is the author of The Word Intersectionality, by the way. The word has been around since 1989, folks, okay? And other leaders local to you, seek them out. Stop following white people and men and assimilated Black folks. If you're following Black folks and you agree with everything that they say and they don't ever make you feel like you're being taken out of your comfort zone, stop following them. Start following unambiguously Black folks that say things that make you feel uncomfortable instead. Step 7, critically, please assess your relationship to white supremacy. Quotation, I can't ignore my own internalized white supremacist behaviors while I'm looking at the systems of oppression that operate the organizations and movements I participate in as an activist. I may experience white fragility along the way, but I can choose how to respond and commit to doing so in a way that doesn't cause further harm to racially marginalized people. I can also use my privilege to hold peers accountable when they engage in behaviors that harm racially marginalized people. Because here's the deal, folks. If you're an activist and you don't know this right now, then this is a gift for you. Racism is not a Black people problem. Racism is a white people problem. Racism is not something that Black people need allies to hold our hands through as we endure it. Racism is a white people problem. You need Black folks the expertise of Black people to support you in using your privilege to dismantle this system. That is what activism is if you are a white person. Anything that does not include that is bullshit, is window dressing, is fun stuff to do so you can brag to your fellow white people about taking selfies at the Women's March or something. That doesn't help racially marginalized people. Stop that. Step 8, admit our wrongs. Quotation, although it wasn't my intent, the impact of my inaction regarding addressing the lack of inclusion of racially marginalized people within the liberal spaces I inhabit has impacted racially marginalized people in many different ways. A lot of times, we've talked about this earlier, racially marginalized people have been punished by white people who purport to be activists or woke or whatever, when we've brought up that we have been wronged by you, or that the spaces that you have created have harmed us. This is an opportunity to admit those wrongs. Step 9, make amends. I recognize that apologies aren't complete unless they include steps I will take to ensure that hurtful actions won't be taken again. This too is activism, folks. This is probably some of the most powerful activism white people can engage in. This is a first-class ticket to intersectional activism if you are a white person. Use your trainer to identify the steps that you need to take to make amends. And if possible, reach out to the racially marginalized people that you have harmed and ask them for their feedback with regards to what it is that you can do to make amends. Again, this is activism. Activism isn't just cutesy wearing pink pussy hats and going to the Women's March and then taking selfies and going to brunch afterwards. That's performative stuff. That doesn't help anybody except your ego. True activism is all about casting the ego aside, which is exactly what step 9 is all about. This is about humbling yourself. You want to catapult yourself into activism, this is where it's at. Step 10, commit to continuing to do the work. This stuff is ongoing. It's never ending. You don't just get to sit in on this this Thursday evening with me, as delightful as I am, and say I spent an evening with Rima McCoy McBead. I have arrived. I'm ready. This is ongoing. It's never ending. And I will disclose that because of all of the privilege that I experience and benefit from, I too engage in my own work. It is ongoing. I will do it until I am dead. With regards to the spaces that you inhabit, if they are spaces where you engage in activism, striving to ensure that those spaces, SOPs, the strategic planning, the meetings, the infrastructure, everything about it reflect the reality that this work is being done, that it's ongoing, and that it is a priority. It's not just something that we do when we dust off the strategic plan every 3 years. Step 11, and then we have one more after this. Conscious connection to racially marginalized peers and authority figures. Seeking out expertise from racially marginalized people, not just about race stuff, about whatever. Technical assistance, HVAC, whatever. Seeking out expertise, hiring racially marginalized people whenever possible. Prioritizing that is a great way to develop and maintain conscious connection to racially marginalized peers and authority figures. And then the final step, living by example, leading by example, serving, more important than leading, by example for white peers. Quotation, I recognize that one of the most powerful things a white person who is committed to this work, if you are an activist, this is the work that you need to be doing again, is to walk the talk, so to speak, without veering into white saviorism. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. Racially marginalized people do not want white saviors. You are exhausting. Commit I commit to taking what I have learned and patiently educating my white peers. Do not browbeat your white peers. That is not going to, that's not going to create favorable outcomes for racially marginalized people. Hopping onto social media posts and browbeating white people as a white person is not going to help the cause. It might fluff up the ego, so to speak, but true activism for white folks is not about fluffing up the ego. It's about putting the ego in its place and humbling yourself, using yourself as an instrument for dismantling white supremacy. Again, okay, hold on, sweetie. Anything outside of that is nonsense. Sweetie, hold on. So, in closing, before I go to this, that was 12 steps. So some of you are probably wondering, what's up with the 12 steps? White supremacy is an addiction, folks, period. We don't have enough time to get into that this evening necessarily. I invite you to hop onto Google and Google white supremacy addiction. It feeds, it works all of the neurological areas of the brain that are triggered by any other kind of addiction. And it's just as hard to break as any other addiction. Alcoholism, addiction to narcotics, opioids, whatever, sex, gambling, blah, 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 shopping. White supremacy is just as much of an addiction. And so if you are really truly wanting to be an activist and you are a white person, exploring your relationship to white supremacy from the vantage point of addiction can be very helpful in supporting you to break the habit, so to speak, so that you really truly can be an activist and not do the performance ballet of politics, which helps nobody. So in closing, think deeply about why Black folks are so wary of activists and allies. White fragility isn't inherently bad, but what you choose to do with it can be. It can also be good if you are willing to be proactive and face it instead of splattering it all over Facebook. You always have a choice when it comes to how to act in response to your feelings, and activism is not supposed to center your feelings. If you're doing activism so that you can feel good and so that people can tell you how good you are not an activist. You are an energy vampire. Stop that. Seek the assistance of a professional who is Black, unambiguously Black, and you know will challenge you. Keep in mind, lots of spaces in the US, it's not safe for unambiguously Black people to speak so unvarnishedly about race and equity, and so it might be somewhat difficult to find an unambiguously Black person to seek guidance from. Because of my privilege, and I have lots of privilege, I present as a racially ambiguous person, and I have lots of other privileges. I'm able to do something in Iowa that unambiguously Black people largely are not able to do, which is exactly what I'm doing right now. Don't hide covert racism behind a flashy statement or a Black Lives Matter profile picture. Black folks have reached a point, and this is not fair, folks. We see Black Lives Matter signs or profile pictures or whatever. We can't trust whether that's genuine. We've got enough shit to think about, folks. You know, Black people are being murdered on Facebook Live by police officers, and we have to deal with, you know, white liberal ladies who have Black Lives Matter profile pictures who are browbeating us about being divisive and not focusing on the real enemy. This is not the year for that, folks. Get it together. If that is the kind of thing that you're doing, you take down the Black Lives Matter sign in your front yard, or take down the Black Lives Matter profile picture and be honest. It's okay to be a work in progress, but until you reach a point where you are truly safe for Black folks, you need to take that kind of paraphernalia down. Don't file grievances against, initiate whisper campaigns about, sabotage the livelihoods of Black people for talking about racism in activist spaces. That is racist and divisive. It's unacceptable. Don't do that. All right, folks, we've got 12 minutes for questions. I'm going to stop the screen share. All right. Ira asks if I'm an ASAN board member. Not anymore. Where do I see abled fragility come up when it comes to autism and disability, particularly white abled fragility? You know, I will say this. You know, the autistic community, the default setting for the autistic community is white, okay? And the autistic community has a long ways to go with regards to being inclusive for racially marginalized autistic people. The autistic community is woefully culturally incompetent when it comes to racially marginalized autistic people. Saying those very simple but unvarnished truths is very triggering of white fragility in autistic spaces. And so that's definitely one place where it comes up. Should a professional trainer be a POC? So a quick word about person of color. Black people are Black people. Indigenous people are Indigenous people. Brown people are brown people. You know, people of color is a term for racially marginalized people that has served its purpose. And you know, if we're wanting to use a terminology that's inclusive of racially marginalized people, we could say racially marginalized people. We can also say Black, Indigenous, people of color, or BIPOC. How do we unwind the chicken egg conundrum non-Black activists get stuck in? The desire to make spaces safe, centered for Black people, but Black people won't come into those spaces in the first instance because they have been unsafe and uncentering up until now. You know, I think just being open about that can go a long way. It's very refreshing to hear from representatives of these spaces. Hey, we have messed up in the past, and we are working to remedy our bad behavior in the past so that the space is safe for Black people. We acknowledge that the space has not been safe for Black people, and as a result, Black people have been harmed. You know, just being candid is a good start. And then if possible, bringing in professional support and assistance to support in making that space safe. Where do you see is the line between calling out a white person and browbeating them, given the fact that so many white folks will see any discussion about racism as itself racist and a personal attack? That's a good question. And it really depends. If you're, you know, it depends. You have to figure out, you know, if the person you're engaging, if you are a white person, you're engaging in a dynamic with another white person. You need to figure out, is this person engaging with me in good faith or in bad faith? If they're engaging in good faith, be patient with them. If they're engaging in bad faith, that's typically where I see white people getting into the browbeating. Don't waste your time. You're wasting your energy, and so just move on. This is not somebody that's going to be reached, and so, you know, don't waste your patience on them. But again, you know, you've got to employ skillful means as much as possible when you're engaging with people. What would you say to someone who refuses to acknowledge the ways in which marginalized identities intersect and instead argues that if, for example, you're advocating specifically for the rights of Black disabled people, you're ignoring the larger disability community? On the flip side, what about people who are advocating for the disability community but don't acknowledge that it's a community comprised of multiple identities? Yeah, that's the million-dollar question in the disability community right now. You know, it's funny when we advocate specifically for Black disabled people, it really makes people in the disability community uncomfortable. You know, I've reached a point where I'm okay with people sitting in their discomfort. If a person automatically interprets a conversation about a specific population as an indication that we're only going to care about that population, that's ridiculous. You know, the statement Black Lives Matter is a statement. It doesn't mean only Black Lives Matter. And I know that that's something that we've all heard time and time again. But if we're focusing on Black disabled people, it's not because only Black disabled people matter. It's because Black disabled people, by and large, are impacted by police violence more than anybody else in the country. And it's okay to focus on specific populations when doing advocacy. Now, with regards to people who are advocating specifically or in general for the disability community and refusing to acknowledge that it's a community comprised of multiple identities, you know, it's funny. A lot of times I experience that it's okay to advocate for issues that impact disabled queer people, issues that impact disabled women, and people don't get bent out of shape about that. But the minute we start talking about disabled Black people, people get a little bit twitchy. And so simply bringing that up, shining a light on that. Why is it okay to talk about disabled women, but it's not okay to talk about disabled Black folks? Why? And then for folks that say things like, why do we even need to talk about race at all? Why can't we just get along, so to speak? Because I hear that in the disability all the time. Okay, well, why do we even need a disability community? Why do we got to be divisive from the mainstream? Let's just get along with the normies, right? I mean, that's the, if we're going to use that logic, let's just abolish the disability community and join the mainstream. UNITY. Do you see masculine dominance, and then parentheses, sexism as a fragility similarly? Then did not all this start with sexism? Well, yeah, I mean, white patriarchy is the root of all of this stuff. You know, it's the mechanism that demands hierarchical structure. And so almost done, sweetie, almost done. Okay, almost done. And so, yeah. How can I help as a white mom of an autistic child make the autism community more inclusive? You know, seek me out, send me a message on Facebook and we can talk more about that. Folks, I'm sorry, my daughter has to go to the bathroom, and so I'm gonna have to cut this off 3 minutes short. I don't want her to pee her pants. So I want to thank everybody, and I'm gonna hand it back to Tanvi. But this is real life, folks, and I'm a single mom, and so I gotta go do my thing. I thank everybody for being here tonight, and find me on Facebook if you have further questions or comments. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Rima. I was hoping that Rima would have a minute to see all of the thank yous that are coming in the chat. There's a ton of them. I have to say that anytime we hire a presenter to do a program, it's always a little bit of a gamble if you haven't seen them do a full presentation, because you never really know what you're going to get. And that was amazing. And I'm so glad that we hired Rima. And there was like 10 million topics in there that I wish that we would have more time to hear about. But thank you everyone for attending. If you want to learn more about future Ames Pride programming, you can check out amespride.org or visit us on Facebook at Ames Pride. I hope you all have a great evening. Thanks again, and hopefully we'll see you at other programs.